So welcome to the Virtual Venture Cafe, everyone. This is our first ever Pet Innovation Conference. And now it is the time for us to hear from those who actually devote their lives to creating solutions that will make lives of our fluffy friends healthier and happier. I would like to introduce Julia Sklar, who will be moderating this session. Julia is an independent journalist, and she is located in Boston. She covers science, health, and technology for National Geographic, the Boston Globe, On Dark magazines, and more. So with this, over to you, Julia.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. So we're going to kick off the presentations today, starting with Becky Mosser. Becky is the Director of Feline Health and Education at BasePaws. She's a registered veterinarian technician, owner of Veterinary Advancements, co-host of the podcast Veterinary Viewfinder, and host of Brave Media podcast.
Hey guys, I'm Becky. I'm really excited to be here. I'm not at all nervous to go first, even in the slightest. I'm like, oh, it's the worst to have those early letter names. But I'm excited to be here. I guess the first thing I want to say is I'm here on behalf of my company. So I'm going to introduce you guys to the brains and the brilliance behind us. So I'm going to go through a quick PowerPoint presentation just because it's probably a little more interesting than my face, I hope. And to just talk to you guys a little bit about BasePaws, which is a company I'm so proud to be involved with. So I first want to give credit where credit is due. Miss Anna Sakaya is our founder and CEO, and Damon Coe is our COO and head of science. And these guys are really the ones who have done an amazing job with creating this product and making sure that our product is top of the line with science, and I'm really proud to work with these guys. They've got, Miss Anna has an extensive background in entrepreneurship and startups, and I have learned so much from working with her in the startup world, with my background being mostly veterinary. So what we know in our organization is that different breeds have different needs. And when we talk about cat breeds, it's sort of quote unquote, because we know cat breeds aren't delineated the same way that dog breeds are. But we're working on this, and we're working to find out the specificity of lineage and bloodline associated with health and the best lives for cats in homes. So we've done this by creating a unique DNA test to standardize and personalize the service and the recommendations, and really how we approach veterinary care and health with our cats, based on the health markers and the DNA that we're able to find through these samples. So not only do we look at their DNA, but we also take a look at the extensive health markers, and the health marker database is growing all the time. So we're able to look for genetic links to things like HCM, diabetes, obesity, PKD, which is polycystic kidney disease. And if any of you guys know anything about cat health, a lot of these diseases are really devastating. And so the earlier we can be involved and the earlier we can get the veterinary side of things going, the better, healthier we can make cats' lives. So just sort of at a glance, we know that cat genes have a long way to come, and we have a lot to learn, and we're really excited to constantly be expanding that under the leadership of Damien and the amazing, brilliant people who are in our lab. We're growing this genome database and learning new information about traits and health, and a lot of phenome data that is helping us to better understand cats and make associations where maybe we can going down the road. So it's been really fantastic to learn about the unique aspects of cats and cat health. We basically have a four-pronged data approach. If you are super jazzed about genomes and phenomes and DNA, hit me up. I won't bore a whole lot of you guys with this science because I could get on quite a tangent about it. But what we do is we really want to create personalized algorithms with this longitudinal data and the health history, and then on top of that, the DNA that we get. We're also taking a look at microbes and biomes, and so we have some exciting things down the road with that. And we're actually working on developing an oral microbiome test. What's really cool is because DNA is a cheek swab, we're actually able to collect microbiomes of the oral cavity in cats as well. So we already have a ton of samples already, and this is something we're going to be able to feature going forward for cats to, and well, more specifically their owners, I suppose, to monitor for microbe microbiome changes in the oral cavity, which can be an indication of dental disease. And since we know that cats suffer a lot from dental disease and it's not the most fun place to go fishing around, being able to do so with a cotton swab and kind of get an idea of where we're at and the health that's going on in the oral cavity is really quite phenomenal from our standpoint in the veterinary industry. And then the last thing I kind of just wanted to touch on is my passion project. I am cat coach Becky. And so we have gone above and beyond with the data, and we're helping to gather the genome and the phenome data together. But more than that, to offer a way to elevate the human-animal bond, to develop and to fix just tiny little things that can happen in the environment or in interactions with cats that can highly affect their stress levels and their everyday lives. And so through cat coaching, we're able to connect with cat owners and make sure that health, nutrition, behavior, all of those things that we wish we could sit in our vet's office for hours and talk about are being addressed and being addressed on a personal level. And we know that with the data we're gathering and with the ability to coach cat owners, we're going to move the needle on education and health in cats. And that's really what we're the most excited to do. So I don't talk for 5 minutes very well. I hope that was right about my line, because now I'm really excited to field any questions you guys might have or to assist in any way I can from here.
So I have an initial question for you, Becky. You started your presentation saying that cat breeds and their health indications are less well understood than in dogs. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a bit more about why there is that difference.
Sure, absolutely. So dogs have been bred, and meaning delineate actual dog breeds, for thousands of years. And cats, it's only been a couple hundred. And so we really have not removed the domestic cat from the actual wild cat that well yet. So our domestic cats are about 94% of the same DNA as wild cats out there, like lions, and that's what we know. So they're not so far delineated like dogs to say this is very clearly genetically a bulldog and very clearly genetically a golden retriever. Cats just haven't come that far yet.
And so in the technology that you're using to look at their genomes, is that the same as what a company like 23andMe would use for humans, or do you need to have a different technology for looking at cats?
It's almost exactly the same. We do the cheek swab, gather the cells. Now, we do have a full genome sequencing process, which there is actually not a human product on the market that I know of. The last one that was out there actually closed. And I think there might be one kind of up and coming we're learning about, but there's not actually the ability to do the whole genome sequencing in humans, and we actually can break down and do that in cats. But for our average cat DNA test, it's very similar to 23andMe. And what we do is come back and tell you the lineage of your cat and what they're most similar to with the cats in our database.
Something that seems to come up a lot when we talk about genome sequencing in humans, and I'm wondering if it's a problem with pets as well, is privacy. And so of course pets can't really advocate for themselves in the way that we can. So I'm wondering if that's a crossover issue that pet owners are concerned about, or is it less of a problem because, again, pets don't advocate for themselves or really understand where their data is going in the way that we do?
Yeah, it's such a good idea, because actually we do have several owners that are like, I would never do this because you're not keeping my DNA, but here's my cats. And the truth of the matter is your cat DNA is public. The good news is most cats aren't committing serial crimes or things like that are getting all the publicity of the data banks that are being saved right now. But we do keep this data and we use this for comparison, because how we're expressing the lineage right now is as compared to the 20,000 cats we have information on, that they are most similar to this lineage. So it actually is stored and used in comparison, very similar to the more public human products. But we use it differently. People don't want to buy it, but we're not selling it. We're using it for our own internal use.
Awesome, thank you. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So I guess without further ado, we'll move on to the next presenter. which is Melissa Michener, the founder at the Barkshop. Melissa is an experienced founder and leader working in the consumer services industry. She holds a degree in business administration and management from the Columbia University in New York City.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time today. I'm going to share my presentation with you. Sorry about that. And sorry. Well, technical difficulties, but we'll keep going. So, my name is Melissa Michener. I'm the CEO and founder of the Barkshop. 8 years ago, I was inspired by a reality human hair show called Chicago Licious, which was a spinoff of Jersey Licious. I didn't grow up with any pets, and I didn't know anything about pets, nor did I grow up with a dog. I saw the opportunity and decided to jump in within 90 days. Currently, we are giving pet owners confidence and providing a safe and efficient experience in pet grooming. So when I started the company, I started as pet grooming. We advanced to a premier pet care facility. Through COVID, we had to pivot our business and we've launched our mobile trucks. We're looking to launch a fleet of mobile trucks and also a grooming education platform. So there's a lot of dogs and a lot of pets in the industry. It's going faster than what we can meet the demand. And we have a great curriculum, which we've used with our social impact mission through partnerships with Pathways to Graduations, Friends of the Island, and GOSO, which stands for Get Out, Stay Out, which are at-risk youth, young adults that were potentially at risk of not graduating or were previously incarcerated. And we found that our curriculum has helped us build a pipeline of talent to create the industry's new pet groomers. So we're super excited about that. I'm super excited and passionate about the Barkshop. And we have, some really cool in-home grooming kits launching as well, because we've learned since COVID has happened, pet owners really rely on the professionals to provide them with the services that they need, and they trust us. So we want to continue to build brand awareness and relationships with pet owners, because having a pet can be stressful. And I welcome any questions. So I saw something from Dan. There's much more growth in pet ownership in minority communities than in white ones in the US. How can startups serve this? So definitely, I think we need to have a lot more conversations around, having a pet. You have to have, you have to have the budget to take care of a pet, but opening the space to create fostering of animals, helping with adoption fees. I think getting children excited around pets and pet care. If we look at the history, particularly in underserved communities and minority communities, there hasn't always been great relationships with pet ownerships and just pets in general. So getting kids excited from, I've seen studies with poodles and teaching reading in elementary schools. We've seen studies of the social emotional component with pets, particularly with me working with, at-risk and previously incarcerated or ex-offenders and young adults in alternative high schools. That social emotional component really helps and helps calm them down. They get the job readiness skills and thinking about pets in other ways. So I definitely encourage startups to create some type of social mission where they partner with high schools or different community organizations so that young adults and children are more familiar and comfortable with pets.
So I was wondering if you could also share with us more about what it was like to kind of reconfigure your business to run during a pandemic, because obviously what you're doing is pretty hands-on. And so I'm just wondering what that process was like to go through figuring out how to do what you guys do, but safely, especially in light of some information that came out a couple months ago about the virus being transmissible on like pet fur and things like that.
Sure. So first thing, as a leader, I had to remain calm and come up with a game plan. So I remember this being a 3-week stay-at-home order, and I was actually on my way to teach at the Atlanta Pet Conference. I made the decision not to go, to have a meeting with my team and really talk about what are we going to do. So we decided, one, to take on as many dogs as we could. I gave myself
1 week to come up with some new processes, i.e. my decal and my bedroom wall, right? So really connecting with our clients, really honing in and letting them know that we're there to help them. We created a lot of content first around how to take care of your pets at home. I think that was really beneficial. And then from there, I had to come up with a curbside check-in process and a contactless process. And that's also where the mobile truck came in, because it allowed for us to do some curbside check-in and contactless grooming as well.
Did you have that truck ready to go as part of your existing business, or is that something that you kind of pulled together at the last minute?
So it's been a 3-year plan. I was already working on that in December. COVID kind of just gave me the push in the back to go forward. There were some hiccups, right? The DMV was closed. We had the truck. We didn't have the plates. So now what I've learned is, continuing to just stay ready. And I think, I still have clients that are scared to come out. We're still seeing dogs from quarantine cuts. So just continuing to put out the message of safety as being our main priority, efficiency, and I always say, I wear my mask because I care about you. So I want you to wear your mask because you care about us.
It really sounds like you turned lemons into lemonade here, though. Like if that's something that you were already trying to kind of get off the ground and just use this as the push. I know a lot of people might not have been capable of that.
Yeah, it's definitely been, a learning curve. I think as a founder, I'm a solo founder, so I've definitely learned my strength. I think our team has also learned our strength because we doubled our capacity. Something that we really pride ourselves on is, unlike, other operators and organizations, we have decreased the grooming service time. So typically it takes us about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to provide the service. And that's really been our saving grace. So we don't cut corners, we're just efficient. And grooming is, it's a very technical skill, and I'm super passionate about it. I'm super passionate about, pet owners, and I think continuing to build that relationship and having the conversations around safety. Post-pandemic, right, post-COVID, there's some new best practices that came out of this that we're gonna have to use for the rest of the remaining time that we're open.
Absolutely. So just a reminder to everybody to post questions in the chat if you have them, and thank you to Dan for your question. We're going to move on to Anya. So Anya Babbitt is the co-founder and CEO at Mello Pet Care. As an entrepreneur, Anya has built and exited multiple startups across industries, and her work has been recognized by the United Nations, Wall Street Journal, and more. Her specialty is strategic partnerships, deal closing, and team building, and her Shih Tzu mix, Mello, is the namesake for the company.
Thank you, Julia, and everyone for joining. We have a video that we're going to show, so we can run that whenever you're ready.
This is Biggie. When I took him to the vet for the first time, he was taken out of the exam room to the back and held for a rectal temperature. Biggie was whining. I was anxious, enjoying it, or the wasted time. What if I asked you to bend over to take your temperature? You wouldn't be too happy about that. Yet this is still how pet temperatures are taken today. Difficult and inefficient for everyone. A few months later, here I am, smiling with the very vets and techs that held Biggie down, after introducing them to the Mello underarm thermometer. Hi, my name is Ben, and I'm COO at Mello Pet Care. Yale, our CTO, has over a decade's experience in healthcare hardware development. Anya leads strategy and fundraising. We've worked together for over 6 years, and our last company expanded to 3 continents and was acquired by a Fortune 50 multinational. Introducing the Mello Pro, a thermometer built for and by veterinarians. Measure temperature under the foreleg or hind leg of a dog or cat. This has never been done before. We value accuracy, comfort, and speed. We're removing the worst part of the vet visit. No more bending over. Underarm or axillary is our breakthrough, but vets have the option of taking temperature via ear and rectal sensors. Powered by wireless charging. Using Bluetooth and integration, vets send temperature from thermometer directly to the patient record and practice management system. The app also tracks historical measurements and can share data in real time via telehealth and other platforms. Our AI uses breed-specific data from clinical trials and hospital partnerships to predict temperature within half a degree, all for $120 plus integration subscription. Mello saves valuable time on each visit. 80% of pet parents are bothered by rectal temperature. In addition to clinical trials, we're running time, motion, and customer satisfaction studies. For parents, we're launching the Mello Home to safely monitor pets at home. Our mission is to prevent illness and increase parents' pet health knowledge. With the unforeseen rise of telemedicine, we've partnered with several large platforms because televets want to know temperature during consults. Did you know that 70% of concerns can be solved via telehealth? The device will be under $50 plus subscription. Here is our traction so far, measured in KPIs, and here are the highlights. 200 veterinary pre-orders at VMX, integrations with 90% plus of the practice management market, 3 veterinary supply distributors, 3 telemedicine partnerships representing 10 million customers, major retailers including Amazon, Launchpad, and Petstock. We launch in Q4 and early next year with consumers. By addressing just 1% of vets and 0.01% of pet households in the US and Europe, we will achieve 7-figure revenue in our first product. We'll partner with daycare, responsible breeders, and animal shelters. We're not stopping there. We are building an ecosystem of products, including a body fat analyzing scale, a pet pulse oximeter, and EKG. Biggie is the namesake for our body fat analyzing scale to address the 60% of pets that are overweight and obese. Obesity research teams at several major pet food companies are interested in partnering with us to achieve long-term weight loss results. Ears and rears are out, armpits are in. If you believe as we believe that we should change the way we care for our pets and monitor health, join us. We see a future where preventative medicine is at our fingertips through easy-to-use tools, helping our pets to live longer and making us more knowledgeable and connected with our pets than ever before.
All right, thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Anya.
Any questions?
I don't see any coming in right now, so I'll just go ahead and ask one that I have prepared. I'm curious to know, the video talked a lot about telemedicine, which we've obviously seen a huge increased need for during the pandemic. And I'm wondering how that has impacted your business at all, this idea that maybe people can't always get to the vet right now if they need to.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. And when we set out to build particularly the thermometer and the subsequent devices, we never thought that we would be in the middle of a pandemic. I don't think any of us did. So just like Melissa was saying, it's forced us to reshape our business strategy and the way that we sell to different channels. It's really enhanced our model. And this we've particularly seen as of late, having conversations with these telemedicine providers who have seen a tremendous uptick in their own business and who really see the value of these tools that we're building that can help them be bundled so that they have a better way to be able to communicate to pet parents at home who may be challenged to get to the veterinarians for various reasons, whether it's the pandemic or it's the cost factor. And so it's really another data point that we can provide, equip and really empower pet parents to be able to better track the health of their pet, and then to be able to strengthen those relationships either with a telemedicine platform or with their own veterinarians.
So we have a question sorry, something weird just happened. We have a question from Dan, our power attendee. He says, for Anya, what has the journey been like for Mello from vet acceptance and regulatory approval? Any insights on the similarities and differences with human health for a device startup?
Sure. So in terms of the vet practices, we've seen, I think there are some people in the chat too who are vets saying that, you know, they really think this is an incredible product. So we're happy that, you know, our passion comes from not only animals. I grew up on a farm in New England, so I've been surrounded by animals my entire life, love them, and really see the need for improved health outcomes and being able to track the health at home. But also just empowering the veterinarian clinics with a tool that creates a fear-free environment for the pets, which we're huge advocates of and believe strongly in, but also it improves just the workflow alone for these veterinarians. And so now they're seeing that they can reapportion the time and the workflow for their technicians so that they don't have to engage in the mundane task of taking vital signs up front, but can also lure and empower technicians to take on more responsibility elsewhere, thereby improving that intake process, thereby increasing incremental revenue. So it's been widely adopted. Of course, you have those doubting, Thomases who may think, okay, well, this is very innovative, we're not sure. So that's why we have that third attachment for the Mello Pro device, so that they can still check the rectal temperature against the axillary, just so that they are able to check that box of reassurance.
I was wondering if you could actually talk more about that, because I know for human health that taking an underarm temperature is not always the most sensitive place to take a temperature. So I was curious when I saw the 3 attachments on your device. So can you talk more about, what the purpose is of having all 3 of those methods in one device?
Sure, it's so that the vets have 3 different ways to take the temperature read. If some of them are more custom initially to taking the rectal or inner ear, they still have that in one device. But the majority who we've spoken to have said if the temperature reading is accurate and we have proved that efficacy, which we have, then they wouldn't see any reason not to use the axillary. But it hasn't been done before, and that really goes to the credit of our development and technology team. We have incredible machine learning expertise on our team, as well as those who are very specialized in algorithms. And so, as you know, a temperature reading for a Chihuahua is very different from a Husky. So that's why we've had to work very closely with a lot of these patient management companies in order to obtain data on differing breeds, so that we do have those accurate breed descriptions based on temperature, based on the type of breed, so that we can incorporate that into our application and really be able to crunch that data and provide the accurate reading for the thermometer. And that's really where the innovation comes in.
We have another good audience question, which is, how did you find out there was a market need for this product?
Good question. We're lucky that we have all these pre-orders and support from veterinarians, but it's like any startup journey. You set out to solve a problem when you see that there's a niche in a marketplace, and I think we can all agree that especially in pet care, there's this opening in the universe to innovate in many different ways, which I think is very unique to this industry, and people are very open to it. But we had originally set out to build this thermometer as well as other devices for humans. But based on regulations with the FDA and just based on the metrics that we saw, increasingly we understood that the amount of money that pet parents spend on pets to ensure their health and wellness was something that needed really to be looked into and studied more. And then our first love are really our pets. And so we looked at the technology that our tech team had been working on previously with us for 20 years. And we thought, why not augment it to the pet industry? And the time just seemed really right.
Thank you, Anya. So I don't see any other...
And go Terriers. I see you went to BU as well.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to BU for grad school. That's where I got my master's in science journalism.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't see any other questions in the chat for Anya. So let's move on to our last presenter, Mika Adler, who is the CEO and co-founder of Good Pup. Throughout his career, Mika has served on the boards of directors for more than 10 Boston area startups, was a tenured professor of computer science at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, authored more than 50 widely cited publications, and holds multiple patents. He holds a BS from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and a PhD in theoretical computer science from the University of California, Berkeley.
Great, thank you, Julia, and thank you to the other speakers for warming everybody up and telling us all about all of your interesting companies. So let me try to share my slides here. Yeah, as Julia said, I am the CEO and co-founder of Good Pup, and basically what we're doing is using technology and a data-centric approach to a space that actually historically has been relatively low tech. And specifically, I'm referring to dog training. So what we're doing is using technology and data to drive higher quality, efficiency on the commercial side, and also scale in dog training. And the way that we do that is we have introduced a platform for doing training over video chat. This is currently distributed as a mobile app, which is called Good Pup. And the way it works is fairly straightforward. The idea is that a consumer will go to the App Store, they'll find our app, they'll download it, and when they are ready to train their dog, they will connect with a live trainer over video chat. We've set up a whole program around this where the trainer will work with the owner once a week. They do a session every week. And in addition to that, there's quite a bit else in the app. There's a chat feature where they can go and ask questions sort of midweek if anything comes up between sessions. There's also a lot of technology and features within the app to keep the pet parent, keep the dog owner engaged throughout the week between these sessions. Because as anyone who's tried to train a dog knows, the repetition and the practice and staying on top of things is really the key to success. So we have homework in the app that the owner will do that lines up very nicely with the in-person sessions. We have reminders, we have mood check-ins to see how people are doing, and we also make very heavy use of the chat function as well. So it turns out we seem to have hit on something that the consumers very much enjoy. Lots of data points around this. I think the one that is sort of the most compelling is our rating in the App Store, which is we're 4.9 star rating out of 5. And this is for an app that actually it's a free app, but we do charge for the service. So the reason that we get all the negative reviews that we seem to get are people who are surprised that they actually have to pay for the service. But of course, we're connecting people to a live human being, so that's the way these things work. We also have a very, very high Net Promoter Score, 75%, and in general, just get very, very good feedback. If I'm ever having sort of a day where things aren't going the way I'd like, I go to the App Store and read some of the things that people say about the product. And I think there's good reason for this. I mean, what we've put together here is pretty fundamentally different, and I like to think better than anything else that's out there. We've put a lot of thought into the curriculum that we've put together for our training course. We have done so through a combination of the latest thinking around positive reinforcement techniques and training, but we've combined that with our data-centric approach. So what we've done is we've taken the curriculum, taken sort of a cutting-edge traditional curriculum and honed it using the data that we have. So specifically things like which topics are covered, what order they're covered, and also how they're covered, especially in the medium of doing this over video chat. Other advantages that we have is that we are doing the training in people's homes, and this really is the right place for a dog to be trained, right? You want the dog to be trained in the environment that you want them to succeed in as well, and without the distractions that come with having other dogs in a group training session, or maybe a stranger in your home that is distracting unto itself. We do also incorporate data into other aspects of the business, and one specific thing is the quality of the trainers, ensuring that the trainers that we have are following sort of the guidelines and the methodology that we've put together, but also just having good results. We do track outcomes and reviews and retention, and in general get a lot of data points to ensure that the trainers that we have are really at the standard that we want them to be. Other advantages that we have, well, the video chat platform onto itself means that we are really geographically agnostic. Our process is to find the best trainers across the country. It doesn't matter where they are, and bring them to the consumer no matter where the consumer is. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. We're open, instead of having a class that's at a very specific time, maybe once a week, we're open from 9 a.m. to midnight Eastern time every single day of the week. So very easy, very convenient. We fit into people's busy lives. And on top of that, because it's over video chat, we don't have a facility that we have to maintain and pay for. Our trainers are doing this out of their house. So that makes this more cost effective. And of course, it's much more convenient. And what that ends up working out to for the consumer is that we're able to provide very convenient private lessons for the cost of a group session that you would have to go to a facility for. So really what I believe is that we really have hit upon the right way to train a dog. We've used technology to get to that place. So we've been doing this for about 2 years, doing dog training over video chat before doing things over video chat became as popular as it has over the last 6 months. But as you can imagine, we hit a little bit of a knee in the curve in March and April as all of a sudden everybody was interested in doing things over video chat. So in the last 6 months, the company has actually grown by a factor of 6. And we now have over 100 professional certified trainers on staff. We've now trained over 27,000 dogs. And as a measure of sort of how much people appreciate the chat function that we have and all the questions that they're able to ask us through that, we have sent over 8,000 total chats between us and our customers. So probably worth saying a little bit about where we want to take this as well. We really believe that we can drive quality, efficiency, and scale using data and technology. And also we're taking advantage of the gig economy, right? Our trainers are, instead of doing things a traditional way, they're working in a much more gig-based economy. So dog training in the US is a $1.5 billion industry. If you look at the 2 biggest players, which are Petco and PetSmart, they're each doing about $100 billion in revenue in just training. So we believe that because we've developed a much better system, a much more cost-effective system, we believe we can get to be the largest dog training destination in the country. That would put us at, well, certainly at least as large as Petco and PetSmart, which would take us to a 9-figure revenue number. But we actually think that there's a bigger opportunity here. What we're trying to do is become a much broader platform than just training. We'd like to be the destination for all advice around dogs, all the way from puppyhood to end-of-life services. And so the way we actually see training is much more as a wedge to get into the consumer, and then see where we can add value throughout the lifetime of the dog. So that's all I was going to say. I'd love to open it up to any questions that people have.
Yeah, we have a lot of good audience questions that have come in. I like what you said about how it doesn't make a ton of sense to train dogs in one setting and then, take them home, change all the variables from the environment to who's giving them commands, and expect them to still exhibit the behaviors that you want. I think that's really interesting and really innovative. We did get one question though about the opposite. So Wendy wants to know, what about those who want to work on public behaviors or other dogs, distractions, etc.?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So I would describe that whole category as socialization. And I think one of the things that we found is that there really is almost 2 different skill sets. There's training, behavior training, cue training, etc., and there's socialization. And a lot of times these are put into the same bucket, but they're not best served as being in the same bucket. They're really 2 different things and should be treated treated separately. Socialization, very important, but if you're trying to do training at the same time as socialization, it can be very inefficient. The analogy that I like to use here is, taking your kids out before you've taught them any manners.
I'm also curious to hear a bit more from you about how the pandemic has affected your business. I know I feel like a broken record here, but I feel like this is the question that everybody is asking of themselves right now. And I know I've seen a lot of people talking about how their relationship with their pets has changed as they're home all the time with them, when they previously were maybe leaving for work for 8 or 9 hours in the middle of the day. Have people been seeing better results with their pets because maybe they're able to sustain the training methods with them? Have you heard any feedback from anyone about that?
Yeah, so we actually have some data around it as well. I guess, I think you asked two different questions there, which I'll treat separately. One is how it's affected the business, but also how it's affected dogs. As far as the business goes, first of all, I was super impressed with Melissa in terms of what you had to do and were able to do successfully to pivot during what was a very difficult time for the business. So congrats to you for being able to do that. We were actually very lucky in some sense in that our business was almost custom made for a pandemic. Obviously didn't have any insight into that going in, but we did have an office that was a little bit of a transition to everybody working home. But all the trainers were distributed. We'd set it up from day one to be distributed. We were doing everything over video chat. So the business itself did quite well, and of course there was a lot more demand for what we were doing as a result of the pandemic. In terms of the data that we were seeing with respect to dogs, I mean, one of the big things that we've seen is just comfort levels in the home. And one of the things we do is we ask everyone when they get started to fill out a questionnaire about sort of what they've learned and what problems they're having. And we saw a very significant drop in the amount of, let's say, separation concerns that dogs would have, and level of comfort in the dogs, just from these intake forms that people were filling out. It's about a 25% drop in terms of what percentage of the dogs were having concerns about or discomfort with being in the home. Now, one of the things that's on people's mind quite a bit right now is what happens when everybody goes back to the office. And there are things that you can do to prepare for that. And we believe that it's important that you start thinking about that well in advance of it actually happening, where you can do things like leave for a little while and come back, as opposed to being gone for a full day. So definitely worth everybody thinking about that, sort of as early in this cycle as they can.
So we have another question from Dan, who asks, can you talk about how many households engage trainers now versus the potential?
Yeah, so training as an industry covers about, it's a little less than 50% of dogs that are professionally trained, that are sort of going out there and getting real professional training. So there's certainly plenty of room to grow in terms of the industry, and that is one of the things that we believe we can do is actually grow the industry because of the accessibility, the price point that we're able to operate at, and also just the accessibility. I mean, we have customers that have physical conditions that make it very difficult for them to leave the house, or even social anxiety that also makes it very, very difficult to leave the house, and they very much appreciate being able to do things over the format that we provide. So there is definitely room to grow in terms of the percentage of dogs, but what we find also is because we're doing a lot to keep the user engaged, keep the owner engaged with the process, we think that we can actually significantly lengthen the amount of time that the pet parents are spending on training, and as a result of that, end up with much better final results.
I have a question.
Hi. Yes, please.
Hi, this is Natalie, and thank you for putting this together. Really enjoying listening to you. I'm actually a professional dog trainer. I started about 6 months ago after being in the cosmetic industry, so it's kind of a complete 360 here. Can you tell me a little bit about your model as far as, you know, the app is obviously free, but once you start up as, you know, with your chats and with your personal trainer, how is that working from a, you know, how do you monetize that? Because I imagine that, you know, if you have accredited trainers, they don't come free. So how do you pass that on to your clients? Do you have different models? So like the different subscription models? Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, it is a subscription model. People subscribe to the service, and you know, there's actually not a lot of complexity to the pricing mechanism. There's a weekly subscription, and you know, a significant fraction of that goes to the trainer, and we keep a portion just to, you know, keep the lights on.
Okay. I'll have to look at the app. I wasn't familiar, so that's really innovative. And I think a lot of my clients actually also have apps, but some of them need more. They want more of the white glove, whatever service people inside their house. But you're totally right. It's all about the consistency, though, and the touch points between each session.
Yes. Yeah, we found that to be super, super important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'll reach out to you separately. I'd love to.
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. I'd appreciate that.
Becky wants to know, what about cats? Do you get really into cat training?
Becky, I appreciated your presentation and the cat coaching. I'm actually we also have cats at home, so I'm a big fan of cats in general. We actually have had you know, I said 27,000 dogs, and we've had 2 cats on the platform. I'm not convinced we did a particularly good job with them. It's a very different way of doing things, and our program is very much designed for cats. But and yes, Becky, I saw your note that no one thinks you can train them. No, I've seen some fantastic results with cats. I absolutely believe that you can. I just don't know how, personally.
We'll connect later. I just was curious if people, or if you're ever finding like the dog's not the problem, it's the cat or well, the people.
We do. So we do actually spend some time, in some cases, quite a bit of time, helping with inter-pet issues between, you know, other dogs in the house, when a new puppy comes home, or with cats as well. So we do get involved at that level, but we're not really training the cats.
I have a question for Micah.
It's hi. Yes, it's Mika. But, yes.
So it's Mika?
Yes.
Hi, Mika. So how do you prevent the trainer from going out of app and just working with the client directly once the connection has been made? Yeah,
that's a great question, because I know that there are a lot of these marketplace type businesses that have a lot of challenges with that. And I won't say that it has never happened, because I can't say that with confidence, but all of the connection, all of the video chat, all of the text chat, all of that happens through the app. All the communication happens through the platform. So they can do it, you know, they're speaking to each other. They can certainly do it and exchange phone numbers, but it's fairly difficult. On top of that, the platform does provide a lot of value that both sides would lose. On the trainer side, there's a ton of tracking of, you know, sort of what exactly is being covered in all of these different with all of these different clients. And on the client side, also the tracking, but in addition to that, things like homework and other things. We have monitored it and sample checked and, you know, listened to the recordings that we do of the sessions, and I've literally never seen any evidence of anyone going around us. Again, not saying it doesn't happen, but I think it's very rare.
So it seems like we are kind of winding down, but I just wanted to ask and see if anybody had any other questions for any of today's presenters, Becky, Anya, Mika, or Melissa.
How do we get a hold of Mika? You're the app inventor, right?
Yes.
How do we get a hold of you? Are you on LinkedIn or?
I'm on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at mika@petcarenow.com.
Okay. Are you in Silicon Valley by any chance?
No, Boston.
Oh, you're in Boston.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you there.
Great. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I think that sort of concludes our session for the day.
Thank you very much, Julia, for stellar moderating. It was incredible, the thoughtful questions you've been asking throughout this session. Thank you very much, Becky. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Anya. Incredible presentations, fascinating technologies. Goodness, I am going to take a better look at it because I have a dog who's not trained at all. Sorry, Bagel. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.